everyone, and welcome to this Talks at Google virtual event. I'm Jamie Schwartz, and I'm on the Device and Services Design and Nest team at Google. As a huge Olympics fan, and as Summer Olympics just kicked off, I'm so excited to introduce today's guest, two-time Olympian and my childhood friend, Jazmine Fenlator-Victorian. Jazmine is an Olympic athlete who has competed in the 2014 and 2018 Winter Olympic Games for women's bobsleigh. After competing with Team USA in Sochi, Russia, she made history as the pilot for the first ever Jamaican women's bobsleigh team to compete in the most recent Winter Olympics in PyeongChang, South Korea. She's currently pursuing efforts to qualify for her third and final Olympic Games in Beijing 2022. Jazmine got her degree in multimedia communications and journalism with a minor in advertising from Rider University. She then acquired a master's degree from the California University of Pennsylvania in performance enhancement and an MBA with a concentration in marketing from Keller Graduate School of DeVry University. After her second Olympic appearance, she was the commencement speaker at her alma mater for Rider University's graduate class of 2019 and received an honorary doctorate for her achievements and contributions to the community. Jazmine is a board member for EI Focus, a nonprofit group that focuses on empowering women and girls in sports through emotional intelligence training. She recently launched a social media and branding consultant agency in early 2021 called Golden Theory, where she focuses on helping small businesses and individuals authentically evolve, transform, and reimagine their brands online. Before we welcome Jazmine, please be sure to add your questions throughout our conversation in our live chat to the right side of your screen. And now it's my honor to welcome my friend and Olympian, Jazmine, to Talks at Google. Hey, Jazz.
And thanks so much for having me. I am thrilled to be here and especially be chatting with you, Jamie. How is it going?
It's going great. I'm just so happy to bring you and share you with everyone here. I'm so thankful that you're able to make it today. Yeah, let's kick it off because I have a lot of questions for you and I know the audience will too. So let's get to the most top of mind question a lot of folks must have, because I remember the day I found out you were training for the Olympic bobsled team and said, how does a Jersey girl, someone I grew up dancing competitively with, from tutus to hip hop, or anyone, get into bobsledding, especially if you don't live in the snow year round? Like, how did this all begin for you?
You know, it's such a crazy story. I started out in dance as a dancer. I thought I was going to be on Broadway. I even wrote, I believe, like our Jersey senator to say that dance needed to be in the Olympics if rhythmic gymnastics was, which is like another voting rated type of sport. And I got into track and field, and that kicked off really my athletic career that led me to bobsled. My college coach, I thought it was a joke because he loved Cool Runnings and knew that I was part Jamaican as well. So he actually received information from a peer of his offering some information on me trying out for the bobsled team. They've been watching me at track and field meets. They thought that I would do really well transitioning. And so he hiddenly snuck in an athletic resume to Team USA. And they ended up reaching out to me and saying, come out and try for the national team. And the rest is history.
That's incredible. I actually never heard that story from front to end. So, when I look back at high school when you weren't dancing, I always see you in your blue and white tracksuit from Wayne Valley, and you were running in our hallways after school when the weather was bad. So your dedication to the sport was very clear. And it makes sense how this led to something bigger. And for those who may not understand how bobsledding works, I mean, I'm certainly not a pro. Can you tell us what your position piloting means?
Yeah, so I started out in the sport actually as a brake woman. Who's the back of the sled. We're the engine. There's no mechanics in there like an Indy 500 with like rockets that can help you speed. It's all on you with also the help of gravity. So I started in the back there and really got into learning the sport. It was a hard learning curve. And then I did a driving school where a lot of, specifically on Team USA, they really push to have a lot of people at least try driving. You never know if you're going to like it until you do it, but also if you want to stay as a brakeman, to understand what your pilot goes through. I hopped in the front of the seat never looked back. I love driving. I love the adrenaline. I love the complexity of like playing chess basically in my mind to find the fastest lines, to get down the hill as fast as possible. But I love the adrenaline too at the start line, the hype, pushing a heavy implement as hard as I can, and then having to make that switch immediately to be super focused, bring my heart rate down, all of that good stuff.
My heart's racing at the thought of it, because when I watch bobsleigh and skeleton, I'm terrified for those athletes because riding down the ice looks so dangerous and scary at such high speeds. So can you tell us what your first ride was like and what you feel as you go down the track?
Oh my gosh, I love this question because, if you've seen Cool Runnings, the movie, it paints this picture for you, but there's really nothing that simulates a bobsled. We often say, in a way, it's like a roller coaster, but I hate to give people that idea because those who love roller coasters usually don't like bobsled rides. And then you have people who are motion sickness and they're like, I don't get it. What's going on? Realistically, no glitz and glam. I always put it to the analogy of when I was a kid rolling down a hill, like in the fall to kind of race my friends to the bottom of the leaves and stuff, how that chaotic feeling of just spiraling and accelerating all the way down is. But this time, picture being stuffed into a metal trash can with the lid on. So it's dark, especially if you're a brakeman, you're just looking down, your head is tucked, you have no idea where you are. At least as a pilot, you can see. So it definitely is exhausting. You have up to 6 G forces in a matter of seconds, but it also, when you get to the bottom, it's such this elated energy of like, holy smokes, I did this in 60 seconds. I navigated over a mile of ice at almost 90 miles per hour.
That's incredible. And it's not for everyone. And for those who may have tried riding in garbage cans down hills when they were younger, I'm sure they know what that experience kind of feels like. I may or may not have done that. My brother will know. So when you found out that you had made the 2014 Olympic roster and were headed to Russia, what was the first thing you did and who did you tell first?
So what's interesting in my sport is we don't have an Olympic trials necessarily like you would see track and field. They did an Olympic trials to see who qualified for the games about a month out. For our sport, we have a whole competitive World Cup season. So I was away from home. That summer I spent away from home training. We went straight to Lake Placid and did our team training. And then we were up overseas already for weeks, months on end. So we were in Eagles, Austria. That was the last race to officially qualify for your world ranking and points, to officially be known that you were going to the Olympics. And then Team USA also has to have a debrief and actually select you officially. So I found out in Eagles, Austria, we had this huge team meeting. You have people obviously upset, crying because they didn't make it, and those who did make it. And the first thing I did it was like 11 p.m. at night, is get a hot chocolate, like mocha drink from the lobby lounge. And I called my mom. And I also called my coach Rob Pasquarello, who got me into bobsleigh. I don't know who answered first, to be honest. I know I was left unread. No one was answering because of the time change. So it took a few tries, but it was an elated experience to share with people, and with technology, be able to call them and have that opportunity to share the news with them right away.
Yeah, and I guess their response when they did eventually see it must have been just so special for you and for them as well.
Yeah, my mom was in the hospital that time. She was actually in intensive care. She wasn't doing so well. So through FaceTime and WhatsApp now, and to be able to call her and share that news, I really think it was like a weight lifted off her shoulder, as well as, helped her recovery as well. I'm sure having her daughter slide down ice is pretty stressful, and not feeling that great. So I hope it helped.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that was everything she was looking forward to, is to see you go there. So that's amazing. And okay, so Jazz, you made her story when you helped form the first ever women's Olympic Jamaican bobsled team to compete in the games. You are the actual female version of Cool Runnings. I'm sure that's not the first time you've heard it. And for those who don't know, Cool Runnings is a Disney movie based on the true story of the first male Jamaican bobsled team who competed in the Olympics in 1988. That's over 30 years ago. I was so amped when I found out about this. It's something that I still get the chills about today. So I'd love to show everyone this clip of you walking out with the Jamaican bobsled team for the opening ceremony. Let's roll the video. Okay.
I have a chill.
When I saw you coming out with that team dancing, I was screaming at the TV. I was like, that is our girl. And to this day, like I said before, I still get the chills. Proud is an understatement. And I have to ask, did you encourage that dancing intro?
I mean, I don't want to take all the credit. My team is super lively and dancing. I just remember us standing. It's kind of like a tunnel. If anyone's played football before you kind of rush out onto the field, that's the setting they have for opening ceremonies. And the United States, depending on the home nation's alphabet, we're often down at the end. And then same for Jamaica. Sometimes it's Jamaica, sometimes it's spelled with a Y. So you never really know where you're going to come out. So you're sitting for a while. We were jamming out to some tunes, we were dancing, and we all kind of look at each other. I'm like, we're doing this when we walk in, right? Like, big up, girl, this is what we do. So we, of course, when we enter the Olympics, we have to do it our way. We're a small delegation. There were 4 of us there, and make a big, bold statement when it comes to the Winter Olympics, being a small nation.
It was such a vibe. And just so everybody knows who's watching this, the internet and news outlets agreed that your team's opening entrance won the 2018 Olympics. Completely agree. But I know the nation switch for you wasn't easy. So can you tell us what that process was like and why you decided to represent Jamaica for the 2018 Olympics?
You know, a lot of times it's so interesting because so much has happened since then. And I think it's still an ongoing issue of people just having a hard time having just being able to express themselves and all of themselves, because there's so much happening with social media, so much haterade, and a lot of negativity. And for me, I really wanted to have a positive impact. I love that I'm able to be competitive and do all the things that I do for my dreams. But at the end of the day, there's a big picture. What is my purpose? What is my intent of striving and pushing and being competitive? Is it for the glory? For me, it's not. If I'm not happy with myself in the direction I'm going, I'm never going to be happy with a gold medal. So I needed to find out what that purpose was for me. And my parents really instilled in me to embrace both sides. I'm half white, I'm half Black. My mom comes from an immigrant family from Eastern Europe. My dad comes from the Caribbean. And why can't I have both of my nations and represent both of my nations? So I was really grateful for that opportunity, that it even is within the rules to do that. But also part of it for me was I preach a lot of representation matters. I preach about equity, equality, and kind of breaking those barriers down of a system, and a system that has a lot of issues. And while I was on Team USA, that system was not a system that was supporting me. In fact, it was draining me, sexism, a whole bunch of things that I weren't appropriate any longer for me to put myself at. And I have that control. So I wanted to represent brown and Black children and people of all colors, races, sexuality know that they don't have to be put in a box. They have that control.
Thank you for sharing that. And along those lines, I want to switch gears and get into more of a heavy and important discussion on the systemic racism and sexism in sports, from the recent threats to Black men on the English football team and the ban of Nambian female sprinters who were disqualified from these Summer Olympics due to naturally high levels of testosterone. I know how much this affects you. It pains us all here today. And you were very vocal about these experiences because you have experienced it firsthand. So if you're okay with sharing your story, I think it's important for us to hear what you have experienced and continue to go through and how you overcame adversity. Oh, we can't hear you. Can't hear you. Technical difficulties, just stand by, folks. Nope. Do you want to rejoin? Thanks for your patience, everybody.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Awesome. Sorry about that.
No worries.
That story launched, it really hit home for me. A lot of those three athletes are dual citizens. They have multiple homes just like me. They're in a country that's predominantly pushing. They're in a country that embraces immigrants when it's convenient for them. And I feel like I've been part of that system as well. And to see that a lot of times as athletes, we're told to like shut up and just play our sports. But then at the same time, when we don't express things that are going wrong in the world, we also get hated on for that. And it's this push pull of, are we allowed to actually be people and care and express what's going wrong? Or are we just supposed to shut up and perform because we get paid to? And I just really struggled with seeing that this is still happening, especially for the Black and Brown community in athletics. When we're making people money, it's great. But the second, we go against the grain or we lose a match or something was on the line, there's a lot of harassment out there and it's super sad. So I just wanted to put that support out there for those athletes, but also shed light that this happens everywhere. It's not just the US, it's not just Canada, it's in the UK, it's in Australia. And this is a world problem that we really need to address head on.
Yeah, and we often see, all the glory of the Olympics. Everybody sees the commercials, the sponsorships, the advertisements. What is something else we don't know as viewers that you can shed light on?
I think the biggest thing is this is our job. So you wouldn't say some of the comments that you say to a doctor, to a nurse, to a first responder, to a military officer, but everyone feels inclined to make those comments and judge from their couch towards athletes. And yes, do we put ourselves in that spotlight, whether we're amateur athletes or professional? Absolutely. But us doing that also provides us a platform to speak on things that we're often silenced as a community, as a society on. And that should be open and embraced rather than kind of hated on and shut down. And that's really important for me. And again, one of the reasons why I decided to go to my other home, Jamaica, is I felt in winter sports, there is not enough diversity on the female male ratio, as well as other nations being represented. Just because my country is a hot island doesn't mean that there's not skills and there's not amazingness that can be put in other avenues within the world.
It's really inspirational, Jazz. I love this story. So along those lines, what advice would you give our audience today who may be experiencing challenges and questioning their sense of belonging in their own lives?
The biggest thing for me, and I say this because I've gone through some of these growing pains, so now it's a little bit easier said than done, but my biggest advice is to not care. You are who you are, and the person you have to answer to is the person that looks in the mirror. You don't have to answer to Joe Smo. You don't even have to answer to your parents. You have to answer to yourself and be okay with who you are and owning that. And that takes a lot of time. Society is not always extremely helpful with that. But I also think surrounding yourself with the people who are going to support you. A lot of times I felt on my journey that I was between a rock and a hard place and I had to do something. But that's not the case. Again, I am in control and I put myself in situations. I put myself around particular people. And if that's not working for me and the trajectory I want to go, then I need to change that. So my biggest advice is not to be scared to be somewhere and start back at the ground. I did it with Team Jamaica. I was ranked third in the world with Team USA. I got sixth at World Championships that season. I had a small stipend. I had health insurance. And I walked away because it wasn't for me and taking me to where I really wanted to go with my journey and the vision that I had.
Yeah. We did speak a lot about some of the hardships that folks go through and for what you went through. And I wanted to know some of your top highlights and some good that came from your representation.
Some amazing highlights was when I'm going to get like emotional, but I didn't have Black Barbies. I didn't have people who looked like me. My graduating class, which was your graduating class at Wing Valley, there were 3 brown kids. Me, Alonzo Meek, and another football player. 2 of us were mixed. And oftentimes, if we spoke a certain way, it was, oh, you speak white. Then we're with a different type of community, it's, oh, that's ghetto. Or why is your hair like that? So for me, the biggest highlight was getting messages and pictures from parents that were mixed. They're an interracial couple and they have mixed kids, and they're showing me that kids are now embracing all their sides of themselves. And that was so important to me, for them to find that voice. And I had something to do with it. I don't want the credit, but knowing that I kind of paved a little bit so that it's not so hard for them to figure out those growing pains and finding their voice for their future, it means so much to me. It's honestly priceless.
Yeah, we just saw that photo of that little girl. Can you tell us more about this situation here?
Yeah, so I received a photo in my Facebook athlete page from her mom, and her daughter chose me as her Black History project. And her daughter loved that I represented both countries and wanted to kind of show all those multifacets in her poster of the things that were inspiring to her and that she related with. And it was just so beautiful. I was so thankful that her mom even reached out to share that with me as well. And to see it, you know, you don't always get to see what's happening on the other side. So to have those conversations and connection, it really helps boost and let you know that you're doing what you know is right.
That's so sweet. I could imagine how special that was to receive that message and that photo. Good on you. Okay, important question. I think I know this answer. Who is your hero, Jazz, and who is the one person you look up to? Who's been your inspiration?
Susie Fenlator. That's my mom, day in, day out, since day one, August 29th, 1985, when I was born. She will, thick and thick, through and through. My answer hasn't changed in decades. And part of that is just what she's gone through, what she is going through, but how she's stayed humble, how she's stayed so kind, and how she's spoken up. My mom was at schools, you best believe, if her little girl was disrespected or called a name that was inappropriate, and she educated me on it, and she helped me navigate owning myself. And that's not always easy when you don't look like your kids. And when my mom also faced her own, side of racism, being in a biracial relationship. So I just look at a lot of those experiences that she went through and how people just gravitate to her because she's so kind. They always call her mom. She's cooking all the time, and her strength. And it's just something that I hope I'm half the woman that she is, and I'll go to my grave happy.
Well, hello, Susie. If you're watching, she's a very special woman, very sweet and kind. And, without this conversation, we've talked about this a little bit in the past too, but, the things that you told me that happened to you growing up, I wouldn't have known, right? And it's so important that we have these conversations. And like you mentioned, it was a very small Black-brown community growing up. So this is really enlightening for me. I'm sure folks who are watching at some point back home will also take to heart. And your story is just, it's special. And again, it's so appreciative of you being here and sharing this. And I'm just going to take a quick second to let folks know who are watching that they are welcome to add some questions to the chat So before we head over there in a few moments, I wanted to ask what's in store for you. What do you have coming up over the next year? What do you have going on now? Please share with everybody.
I am so pumped for what I've been really diving into. As you mentioned, I'm shooting for my last and final Olympics. But in the meantime, I also need to lay the groundwork for post athletic career life. So I started my own business. I'm a social media and branding strategist. I also work with Silver But Gold as a business coach. And I just love the that area that I'm working in. I really want to help athletes that are like myself develop a brand and platform so that they can sustain a living. Oftentimes we don't realize with amateur sports, we don't get paid. We actually pay to do our sport, often leaving in a crazy amount of debt, lack of resources. So I want to help athletes like myself get up there. And also entrepreneurs like myself really, dive into their new spaces. I'm also a board member at EI Focus, which really works on emotional intelligence. And I think that's something we forget is such a huge component of being a coach and an athlete. And so I'm so excited to be a board member there, helping to spread that awareness as well. So I'd love to connect with anyone on any of those multifacets, and just really, keep growing.
That's awesome. I would love to know how this past year has been for you and what you've heard from fellow Olympians. With the postponing of Summer Olympics by a whole year, I can imagine someone who's been training forever, especially if this is their first Olympics, right? And then it's pushed a whole year when you've been training up until that moment. What's been the word, on the Olympian side that would be good for us to know?
Yeah, these are interesting times, I believe, for everyone. So no matter who you are, you're going through some ups and downs, having to pivot, having to be innovative and really push yourselves and find ways. And it's hard. On the athletic side, especially with the Olympics, we haven't had a summer and winter games back to back in a very long time. And you have a lot of dual sport athletes. So now you have athletes who have to choose, do they go for summer because it's been postponed and they've been training for that? Or do they pivot and shoot for winter because it's right after that? And it's very difficult to do both without an off season. You also have a lot of athletes that lost tremendous funding, lost a bunch of resources. You have to think of these smaller nations where people don't have things. I know losers from India that literally are living in the Himalayas and created their own sled and are going down hills that they drive in. And now with COVID protocol and not being outdoors, how do they even train when they already were innovative? So it becomes really difficult. And I think the athletes, whether they make it or not, to be honest, these next two games is something where if you know someone who's training, just throw that support. Because it's not always all about the glory. There's a lot of guts that go into it, and there's going to be a lot of heartbreak due to the different circumstances. So to shed light on that and just know that there's a lot of struggle out there. You have athletes too who they were hoping that summer was going to be their last games, but their bodies couldn't hold up another year. So they were forced into early retirement unexpectedly. And that mentally is a huge, huge transition when you're not prepared.
I can't imagine. It's been a difficult year for many folks for various reasons, and what it's such a letdown, right? I can't imagine like how I would feel after all of that, and then being told that I'm just not fit for it within 365 days, really. Okay, well, are you in touch with any fellow teammates? And, where are you headed? Are you going to be on the Jamaica team again, or are you going to be with the US? What's your intent, and who are you in touch with these days?
So uniquely enough, you can't just switch back and forth. There are. So once I made this switch to Team Jamaica, it was permanent. So I will be representing Team Jamaica. I'm in touch with my teammates back home. I'm super pumped. We were finally able to purchase a push track, which is a wheeled bobsled on basically like train tracks. So now our team can actually push a sled versus pushing things that they make simulate that. So they're really honing in on their technique back home. We're all in touch in a WhatsApp group, motivating each other, sharing videos, sharing expertise, and just, you know, my teammates are across the UK, Jamaica, and the US, and we were all in some type of lockdown. Jamaica actually just recently stopped having curfew. So that was super huge for my teammates mentally to be able to kind of live life just outside of going to the training and going back home into their home and being on lockdown. Other athletes I'm in touch with are still some of my old Team USA teammates. One of my friends is having a baby. Another one is working on being a mom and you know, multi-time going for her 4th Olympics.
Yeah.
Advocate for her son who has Down syndrome. So there's a lot of different awesome people out there that I stay in touch with and stay elevated with, and I'm so glad for that community. We're a small community, especially in our sport, but we're mighty as well.
That's so cool. It's a community, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a bond that I guess you can't explain. So it looks like we have some audience questions we're gonna bring in.
Awesome.
Hi. Okay, from Farah. Hi, Jazmine. Any plans for the 2022 Winter Olympics, which you kind of touched on? But maybe let's talk about how you train. Like, what's your training like to actually get considered for the Olympics?
Yeah, so because I'm not actually in Jamaica, I have to travel quite a bit when we have to do like team selections. There's standards physically. So we have different stages. It's like a physical standard. You always have to take concussion tests before the season. Then we go into preseason and kind of get the kinks out, getting back into a sled. We don't get to drive our sled for almost 6 months out of the year. So the first few times going back downhill, making sure all the nuts and bolts are done, just the wear and tear on your body is an adjustment. And like I mentioned before, we have a full season. So realistically, it's being very strategic in which races that we enter, how much we're traveling to optimize the world ranking to be even eligible as a small nation. A lot of people think that Jamaica is an automatic bid because of the continental rule, but just remember, Jamaica is not a continent. So North America is represented. That means we have to compete against all other nations in order to qualify. For training, I'm kind of a track and field athlete / football player / CrossFitter. That's what my training is. So I do some HIIT workouts to get my cardiovascular like strength and speed endurance up, and just challenge myself. I'm doing sprint training on the running track, and then I lift weights. I like to lift and pick up and put down heavy things.
Yes, you do. Your social channels definitely prove how much work you put in. We'll be scrolling some of your social channels soon, but I'd love to bring in the next question, please. From Willie Parker, Jazz. I love how people are calling you Jazz. What is your fave hype workout music? Oh, I love this.
So I am eclectic, I like to say, with my music. I definitely can be pumping some EDM. I love Party Next Door, Diplo, but I also get ratchet and will be twerking sets, and I'm listening to Pop Smoke. I'm listening to J. Cole, a lot of rap, hip hop. I like things that get me going. And something about music, not to like quote Bob Marley and be cliche, but when it hits my soul and it's really going, I have such an amazing workout, and I vibe. If I'm not having fun and it's chore, then I got to change the playlist and get into that mental space where I'm having fun. But also when I'm competing, I do listen to some classical and really slow music, because you need that balance of your adrenaline and bringing it to a state where that you can control and have all your senses to pilot the sled. Great question, Lily.
Seriously. What's your favorite karaoke song? Because I know you, I've seen you sing it. Let's see if it's the one I remember.
So I have two. If it's like a duet with my husband, it's going to be Last Kiss by Pearl Jam. It's one of my mom's favorite songs. I love singing it. And then, I be popping some Ja Rule and Ashanti.
Yeah.
I'm Ja, so that clear.
Yes. Yeah, if you want to see some of Jaz's awesome videos and get in contact with her, let's if we could scroll them on the screen, here's a way to follow her. We got IG, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. No fees down.
Name's the same, although I'm married. My last name's hyphenated. So I'd love to connect with any of you, all of you. Reach out with questions about business, social media, training, the Olympics. I'm fairly an open book, and I just love to connect with people and help them be their best selves.
That's awesome. I think we did have some more questions. If we want to, okay, from Willie. Okay. Jazz, what bobsled city on tour is the most fun to go to?
The most fun to go to and travel to, St. Moritz. It's beautiful. It's where bobsled was started / created. It's the only all natural ice track in the world. So they actually have ice meisters that build this a track record every year, a start record, because it's never the same, where other tracks are actually like a cement track, and there's a refrigeration system that's used to maintain the ice. St. Moritz, they actually are shoveling and creating this every year. I love that place, and I will say that PyeongChang and Sochi are places I would have never traveled to, I think, without doing my sport. And I was so honored and humbled to be exposed to that culture, to be embraced by those cultures. And I do think if you ever can choose and have the funds to travel to those places, it's beautiful, and the people are amazing, the food, and there's a lot there to explore.
That's awesome. I would love to go one day. Okay, it looks like we have one more question from the audience, from Farah again. Who is your favorite all-time Olympian? Good question.
This is so hard. You guys killing me. I'm going to say Wilma, because she was one of the first Black females to win gold, I believe in like the 1920s in track and field. I love her story. Wilma Rudolph is her name, and we are close, and our birthdays are close as well. So her story was I believe she had to have like casts on her legs. I don't exactly remember what happened, but she had to teach herself how to walk. She was told she would never walk or run and be able to do sports. And she's one of the first Black women to win a gold medal, as well as multiple. And I just love that perseverance in her story, and how she basically paved the way for a lot of us in the brown and Black community, as well as females.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Looking at all the people that, the shoulders you're standing on from the people that did pave that way. And so I do have some closeout questions for you while we have you here at Google. I have to ask if there's a Google product that you cannot live without.
Google, if you want to sponsor me. But quite a few collaborations with Silverbook Gold as well as EI Focus. Google Drive, the entire suite, can't live without it. I need it. I love it for the forms for my clients. I love it for creating like contracts or different documents that way, being able to share and create folders, make them private, all of that, as well as how you're able to upload so many things and you can add to the memory if you need it. It's just a really great tool, and especially when you're starting out in your business or you're wanting to keep overhead low, it's free. So how can you beat that?
Same. Okay, and then when it's safer to travel, where do you want to go first?
So my husband and I wanted to go to Tokyo 2020. Surfing is its inaugural Olympics, and he surfs growing up in Hawaii, but also we've been to Tokyo, and the Japanese sponsored our sleds for some time last quad. So I just have a really great tie to there. So I'd love to go back to the Oceania and out there, but Bali is on my list. I heard that you can stay there fairly cheap, so I'm willing to like pack me up my husband and the dog and go out to Bali for a month or two, live on a cabana on the beach. Since I work for myself, working remotely with beautiful sky view, a lot of the holistic food, and I'd love to just dive into that culture as well.
It sounds glorious. I will be in the hut next to you.
Awesome.
So it's been a pleasure, and we all appreciate you sharing your journey on becoming a true champion for yourself and others, really, on a global platform. Thank you so much for being with us today. And from all of us at Google, best of luck on your journey and business endeavors. And with that, you know me, I have to end this conversation with a Cool Runnings nod, Jazz. Oh, by the way, I'm wearing the pin that I got months ago from you, Jamaican bobsled pin.
Good pin. They were only like 8, so.
All right, we're gonna do this. Ready?
Here we go.
Feel the rhythm. Feel the rhyme.
Get on up. It's bobsled time.
Cool Runnings. Hey.